can't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What's up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, I'm going to be talking about Dark Web, Amazing Spider-Man number 16, and maybe a little bit about Venom number 14 by Al Ewing and Brian Hitch. This is one of those deals where I'll probably be talking about Venom number 14 twice in two different videos. I decided this week, instead of doing one big video on Dark Web, I'm going to do two separate videos on Dark Web and just kind of release them on separate moments in time. Largely because there's things I want to focus on with Spidey in this video, and I also want to focus on some other things going on with Madeline Pryor in the Dark Web X-Men book, and some of that stuff also kind of ties in with Venom number 14, which is interesting because usually tie-in books don't always feel like they're so tied in, and this is not the case here. The main thing I really want to talk about with this issue more than anything else is just how much more powerful Ben Reilly has become since being turned into Chasm. I'm not going to rehash any of it here because I've already done a couple of videos talking about it, so I'll try to remember to link those somewhere in here. Just know that in Amazing Spider-Man number 894 or Amazing Spider-Man volume 5 number 93, if you don't keep up with all that legacy numbering mumbo jumbo, then you would know that Ben Reilly had recently fallen into a sort of toxic mutagen that turned his spider powers into something more, and also may be responsible for the gross memory loss that he has had over the course of the past several issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Just know that the Beyond Corporation had deleted all of Ben Reilly's formative memories, and now he doesn't have any knowledge of who he's supposed to be. He knows that he's Ben Reilly, he knows that he is Spider-Man, but all the faces and places that he's supposed to know, he doesn't know. And it seems like it's actually getting worse, to the point that his memories are becoming manipulated. The way that he remembers things is that Spider-Man pushed him into the mutagen and refused to help him fix his memories, even seemingly believing that Spider-Man, Peter Parker, was the one who destroyed the device that kept him from getting his memories back, and laughed in his face about it. We've seen hints of this over the past few issues, that Ben is misremembering things, but I think this is actually probably the most important instance of Ben misremembering how things actually went. Truth is, Peter did want to help him get his memories back, just not by helping the Beyond Corporation. He wanted to do it in some other way, and Ben, being impatient, didn't really want to go with that. He even went as far as trying to kill Peter Parker, beating him almost half to death in order to get what he wanted. And when the whole deal with the mutagen happened, it wasn't that Peter pushed him, he fell into the mutagen. The way that Ben remembers everything, he was a hapless and blameless victim. Peter was a mustache-twirling villain, and that's not how it happened. And all of this has also driven Ben Reilly crazy AF. Also probably hanging out in limbo with Madeline Pryor pretty much didn't do him any favors either. He's also been eating the food there as well, so all of that aside, Ben Reilly has now become the deadliest Spider-Man, and I say this because some of his powers have been upgraded. The mutagen did more than just make him crazier and give him a new costume. The mutagen also changed his spider sense. When Spider-Man tries to attack Ben Reilly from behind, Ben Reilly's spider sense kicks into gear, same way it would for Spider-Man Peter Parker, only with one key difference. Normally, Peter's spider sense warns him of incoming danger and gives him the opportunity and the means to avoid. But in Ben Reilly's case, his newly mutated spider sense doesn't just warn him of incoming danger, it also attacks any incoming danger. His spider sense lashes out with some kind of sickly green energy that knocks Spider-Man away from him. Not only that, this same sickly green energy also is what his webbing is made up of now. He doesn't have normal actual webbing the way Spider-Man does. His webbing is some kind of green energy, but it also allows him to create hard-like constructs. The same way Spider-Man used to use his webbing to make baseball bats and nets and parachutes and all sorts of other random things, Ben, as Chasm, can use that same sickly green energy to create weapons of his own, creating axes and daggers, all of which can affect the real world. They're not just holograms, they actually hurt Peter Parker. What makes this more interesting is that this isn't even the only new power he seems to have. As I mentioned earlier, his memories have been taken away from him, deleted by the Beyond Corporation. Well, it now seems Ben is able to steal the memories from other people. We actually see this take place in Venom number 14 by Al Ewing and Brian Hitch. In that issue where Venom is making a deal with Madeline Pryor and Chasm to help them capture Jean Grey and Spider-Man so that he can find a way to get back to his son Dylan in the prime material plane, Chasm chooses to wipe Venom's memories. It almost seems like he does this accidentally at first, but it does later seem like he actually knew what he was doing, or maybe this was some kind of a natural inclination. But he saps Eddie of all his memories, and it turns out that this is actually why Venom reverted back to his original 90s persona. This was a Venom that was less a perfect symbiosis between Eddie and Venom, and more just Eddie being taken over by a rampaging, mindless monster. Hence why he was always wanting to eat Spider-Man's brains and so on and so forth. Originally, I was under the impression that Madeline was the one that did this to him, but no, it was in fact Chasm who did this to Venom. Not only did he do this to Venom, but these memories are fueling himself. Taking Venom's memories, he was able to add them to his own. And it makes you wonder, he doesn't even necessarily have to kill Spider-Man to get what he wants. He could just steal it from him. But I feel like doing this to Peter Parker might create a worse Spider-Man for him to have to deal with later, which is probably why he hasn't done it yet.
Shocker! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
But the thing is with Ben Reilly's powers, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I feel like his powers are going to come back and bite him in the ass later on. And the reason why I say that is because his spider sense, which kind of seems to act of its own volition, Ben doesn't really seem to control it, it's just a natural reflex. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow this ends up hitting Hallows Eve at some point. For those who don't know, Janine Godby, who has recently been transformed into the new Spider-Man villain, Hallows Eve, something tells me at some point she's gonna have a change of heart, and that spider sense is gonna end up getting her, and it's not gonna be under Ben's control. I also can't help but wonder if maybe Ben has manipulated Janine's memories in some way, shape, form, or fashion, even though technically there are some things that Janine says that would lead you to believe she knows full well what Ben is doing is wrong. She doesn't have any memory loss in that arena. She knows full well Ben is twisted and that he is evil, but she's going to help him because she loves him, and the world has never done anything for her, hence why she is going to use her newly gained powers, thanks to Madeline Pryor, to help Chasm kill Spider-Man and Jean Grey. Speaking of powers, we actually know a little bit more about Janine Godby's new powers as Hallows Eve. Apparently, her new ability is to create masks that allow her to affect whatever that mask represents. We see in Amazing Spider-Man number 16 that she uses a Frankenstein mask to turn herself into a more Frankenstein-style Hallows Eve and give herself super strength enough to kick Venom off a rooftop all the way to the X-Men's treehouse in New York. And we also see in Venom number 14 that she's able to put on the mask of a fly, and it grants her the ability to fly like a fly would. Also seemingly having the hundreds of eyes that flies usually have, and while the acid that she shoots at the treehouse that allows her to break in to the X-Men's headquarters, this is actually not one of her new abilities or has anything to do with one of her masks. This is actually a gadget that she got from Ben from when he was still Spider-Man. But once again, getting back to the Venom side of things, yes, Ben Reilly is the reason that Venom has reverted, and we also learned that in Venom number 14, we actually see the progression of Eddie Brock from being his normal Venom self to becoming Bedlam, which is one of the next steps in Eddie Brock's evolution on his way to becoming Meridius. And we know both Eddie and Dylan are about to come to blows with one another because, as we've seen in previous issues of Al Ewing and Ram V's Venom, Dylan is currently the operating Venom. He is Venom in all intents and purposes for right now. Eddie is technically the King in Black. And while that is still the case, Eddie has become Bedlam, and Dylan is going to be taking him on using his best friend Normie Osborn, who is now operating once again as Goblin Child, to take down Eddie Brock and hopefully get him to turn back to normal. Because the last time when Dylan encountered Bedlam, it was before Eddie had actually become Bedlam. The Bedlam he faced originally, I think it was around Venom number 10, was actually a Bedlam from the future. It was technically not the future, but it was a Bedlam that was already in existence, and Eddie had already become that character. It's all wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, but just know that this is the second time that Dylan and Eddie Brock as Bedlam are interacting, but for Eddie, it's the first time. All that said, Chasm has Spider-Man on the ropes, both figuratively and literally for the most part. He's beaten him from pillar to post pretty much their entire first official encounter between one another, where Ben Reilly is operating as Chasm and no longer as Spider-Man. And Chasm has even more of a leg up on Spider-Man this time because, as he states earlier, he has all of the power, none of the responsibility. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have any scruples anymore, to the point that, unlike the last time when they faced off with each other and Ben Reilly was unleashing everything he had on Peter Parker, but was still maybe technically holding back just a little teensy-weensy bit, this time around, he's not holding back, and he's even going after Spider-Man's friends and allies. This time, we know that he's already gone after Miss Marvel over in the previous issue of Amazing Spider-Man number 15, as well as the Dark Web Miss Marvel number 1 issue, but that's neither here nor there. The real deal here is that Chasm has sent J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie Robertson to limbo, as well as all of the rest of the office staff of the Daily Bugle, and the only way Spider-Man can save them is by going to limbo, something that Ben Reilly is more than happy to do to banish him to that purgatory realm. A place Spider-Man's gonna have a very difficult time escaping from, though I have a sneaking suspicion he and Cyclops and Havoc, Jean Grey and Magic are gonna reunite because they are already over in limbo right now at Madeline Pryor's mercy. Well, for now. We'll talk more about that when I do my video for Dark Web X-Men number 2. But right now, Peter is trapped in limbo and is surrounded by demonic versions of his former Daily Bugle boss, as well as all his other friends that he used to work with at that newspaper. And this puts Spidey in an actionable position because now Chasm has him right where he wants him. In that realm, I imagine Chasm operates the same as Madeline Pryor. He's become accustomed to that realm because he spent so much time in it recently, which means he's probably more powerful there. Not to mention, he wants to kill Peter so he can get those memories and make himself whole, something that I feel like even if he did accomplish, it wouldn't fix his problem. All that aside, if you want to keep up with more of my coverage on Dark Web, as well as all my other favorite Marvel and DC comics, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that way you get notified about every video. And on your way out, make sure to Hulk smash that like button and share this video all over the internet because it really helps the channel out. In the meantime, let me know what you thought about Dark Web Amazing Spider-Man number 16 and Venom number 14. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.